I feel like that's also a very beautiful contemplation inside of the field of karma. What would it feel like to be completely unafraid? Because the yogis, they're not afraid of anything. But many of us were ruled by our fears.
Welcome to our Sahaja Collective podcast. We are Kirsten,
Devdas.
and today we are diving deeply into karma, the understanding of karma. We'll start with the one on karma, understanding what we're actually speaking about. And then we take it a bit more practical into practical steps to see how we can meet karma. I'm very excited about that. Devdas, I see you are the one who opens the talk, who opens the field of karma. I'd love to start with what is karma? Karma is such a vague topic with 100 ideas attached, but no real concept and clarity. So, can we start with that?
Absolutely beautiful question. Actually, I feel like a kind of the popular use of the word karma now is almost more like God's system of punishment. It's like, you did
Yeah,
this wrong, now it comes
yeah.
back. When in fact, karma is simply memory. Now, what can be sometimes a little bit overwhelming is that's a vast storehouse of memory. It's not a small bit of memory. And maybe even before we go to that, we can say there's basically two types of karma for human beings. One type is atomic karma and evolutionary karma and all of these things. That's what got you into a human body. And for most of us, we don't really need to focus much. In this podcast, we won't really look at all about, kind of atomic karma or genetic karma in the broader sense, because it doesn't really apply to us that much in day-to-day life. What we're looking at more is individualized karma. And individualized karma is mostly made up, not entirely, but mostly made up of all of your impressions, all of your memories. And that's why sometimes, just on a call the other day, someone said, I don't think it's possible to change this karma. This karma is just cemented in place. It's unchangeable. And it was like, that's just memory. Like, that's just a memory that you have. Anything that's a memory, of course it can be changed. Our memories are changing all the time. In fact, even memories we have about something that happened in this lifetime, they change, right? It's like you might have looked at something as the most difficult thing that happened to you, and then later you feel, oh, it's actually fine. It's
Mm.
it's not a big deal. It's like everything is fluctuating. Um, and if we think of karma as memory, which is actually what it is, you realize it's more mutable than what you think.
Right, right. So karma is memory. That's already a good breakdown to make it a more neutral and maybe less charged topic to understand that karma is, or what we usually refer to as karma, is an individualized
Mm,
memory of
mm.
what was accumulated by living life.
By living life, and according to the yogis, also by living past lives, and even the karma that's like individualized in this body and this particular experience of life that's happening in an individualized form, even that can be broken down into subgroups, you could say. One is prarabdha karma, which is the karma that actually brought you into this body. And no sadhana, no yoga, no anything is aimed at diminishing that, actually. Like, that is allowed to play out because that's your life. Like, it's a gift, right? It's an incredible gift that you have this body, that you can move it, that you can experience life, that you can have all these things. But what sometimes weighs on people is the aspect of memory, which is cyclical in nature, right? So we often talk about in yoga, there's a cycle to life, and sometimes you come to a certain point in your life and you say, wait a minute, this seems strangely like it happened before. And, if that cycle happens enough, it can start to seem really heavy or burdensome, in fact. And, you know, that karma that's playing out in the cyclical, we like to say that can be a circle. Like it can just be like, oh wow, I'm in the same place again. Or it can be a spiral, which is like you're spiraling up and you're kind of having some similar experiences, but you're growing and you're moving through and you're expanding and you're using karma as what it's actually intended for, which is a vehicle to understand what am I expressing in life. Like what I'm putting out into the world is reflected back to me. And in that way, the kind of divine force is very neutral. It's like if you put out a certain kind of energy, you attract a certain kind of energy. And there is some truth to that relative aspect of karma that it is reflective. It's like a mirror, and it's helping us to understand where am I moving, how am I moving, how can I change how I'm, appearing and attracting in this world. And that's also a very important piece to really understanding and breaking down karma.
I'd like to hop into this reflectiveness of karma and the frequency that we seem to
Exactly.
emit, but
Yeah,
also as karma is reflective. I think that's both ways, right?
definitely.
So we are emitting a certain frequency through our actions, our thinking. So it's our actions, yes, but I think the thoughts, the emotions, like that's all like part of it. Oftentimes we think of karma of good deeds, so action, actually just the physical action, interaction. But I think what's happening inside is part
Yeah,
of karma,
of course.
and there is a reflectiveness from inner state into action into environment,
Yeah,
but also back.
definitely.
Environment, frequency of environment to inner state into
Yeah,
action.
yeah. That's exactly why yogis have said for such a long time, environment is strong. Put yourself in a right environment, surround yourself with right energy, and then you'll also, reflect out and receive back um, higher vibrational energies.
I've been living for quite some time in Thailand, and there it was really the aspiration of the Thai people to create good karma, to do good
Yeah,
deeds. So
yeah,
the life was meant to actually accumulate
sure.
good karma through good deeds.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not sure if the yogic view on that is a bit different. Like, is it the purpose of living life to accumulate karma, or isn't it to actually annihilate
yes,
karma, like
yes,
to come to zero? Like we're always speaking about being in the center, being in neutral. Like, is that not true for karma, or does that not completely relate to one another?
of course. Yeah, it's unquestionably, yogis are trying to move through karma faster, not slower. And that that means kind of that can seem like, oh, what does, how does that like turn into practicality? But how it turns into practicality is actually on many different levels. And on one level, what you said is true. Of course, you want to accumulate good karma, but what you're actually trying to do is empty out the karmic bank and come into the space of neutrality. Yogananda, a great sage of yoga, used to say, you break the stick upon which karma rests itself, which is like you basically, and we're kind of, you basically recognize that it's the divine that's moving in everything in life. And then the idea, my karma, the heaviness of my karma. Oh my gosh, this happened to me and I can't possibly escape this. It's like that just lightens because you see, wait a minute, that concept, my karma, it's not really true, actually. Like, and in that way, that is kind of like the ultimate emptying of the karmic storehouse. But in the play of karma, all of those dimensions are valid, right? There's like putting out good karma and receiving good karma. That's also a valid way to interact with life. Trying to put yourself in a vibration where you attract certain things, that's also valid. But it's not necessarily the end game of the yogic life. The end game of the yogic life is all of this karma is seen to be not really true. That has to do also with, the longer spans of time and lifetimes and the yogic play in that way.
So to be more hands-on, like when it comes to karma, is karma our memory? Are we bound to follow the direction that is given by the memory?
Yeah,
Like how much are
yeah,
we really formed and our
yeah,
expression is
yeah,
formed and destined to
yeah.
happen the way it is being
Mm,
formed?
mm,
Or is there freedom when it comes to
yeah,
karma? Like how much are we in a position of receiving?
right.
Or is there also an active part in us of shaping?
There's definitely an active part of shaping. That's the whole science of yoga, basically, in a nutshell, right? But um, before we get into that, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar said something very beautiful about karma. He said, here you are in this body. Let's say that you want to change how tall you are. Good luck. Not gonna happen. But he said, how about how wide you are? That you have some control, actually, right? And a little bit, life is like that. It's like, it's definitely flowing a certain direction. If you were, born in Germany versus being born in America, you're not going to change that. Like, those are just the karmic situations that have been handed to you. Maybe also you came with certain gifts. Those are also, uh, you know, handed to you. But within what you've been given, there's flexibility to mold. And flexibility to mold, actually, it's like life is being created brand new in every moment. Like Lahiri Mahashaya, one of the great sages of yoga, said, every breath is a miniature death. It's like every moment contains infinity in a strange way. Like potential has no limit. And yet, you can also say you're not going to get taller. Like, some things are a bit fixed in the way that they are in your life and your life expression. But that's not true of the potentiality of your soul. And that's maybe the differentiation. It's like, someone was saying to me recently, what do I tell to women who come and they say, oh, I'm too old for that, and I said, well, there are situations in which you might be too old for something that would relate to the physical body, right? It's like maybe you can't go into a full squat anymore at a certain age, but you can go into the fullness of the expression and the discovery of your divinity at any age. And that discovery would imply freeing yourself of the bondage of repetitive patterns, forceful repetitive patterns, that you're consciously choosing what's coming to you in your life. It doesn't mean that, you know, your family unit's going to necessarily change itself. You still have brothers and sisters or a mother, or, you know, some structural things are always going to remain the same. But the kind of forceful repetition of learning patterns softens, and I would even say at some point almost disappears, because it's like, okay, the intelligence of life is just expressing itself, and a great softness and a great relaxation and a great trust comes in that, hey, what's being given, whatever it is, it's a gift. You know, it's the gift of the intelligence of life speaking. And when it's received that way, the kind of like burdensome aspect of karma is, oh, it's so heavy, or, you know, oh, I'm here again. How can I be here again? It's like, that's just not playing like that. And I loved something that you said recently. You said sometimes you can tell how much attachment there is to your karmic situation, how much resistance there is to your karmic situation, by how much are you reacting to it, how much are you moving with it, and how, oh no, this is happening again. Or, oh, you know, here we are.
Yeah, this is definitely an observation that people in the same challenged situation have very different reactions to it. Like some seem to really be bounced around by challenging situations. Others seem to be able to sit back
Yeah.
much more relaxed, and of course also slip and slide a little, but not in a way that worlds break and appear and disappear like one after another. Like this roller coaster
Yeah.
isn't there. It's more like floating
A river.
through what happens. Yeah. Yeah, so I find that actually for myself a very good indicator
Yeah.
where I stand, like where learning really has been taken place or where seeing has been integrated.
Yeah.
When I meet in the cycles, similar
Yeah.
or same situations again, and I feel I can meet them from a different place when I
Yeah.
see that I can meet them more relaxed, can meet them centered, and
Beautiful.
other
Beautiful.
situations that I re-meet,
Yeah.
they are still on fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that's also a really good indicator to where to work, like what's the field where I need to, clear up,
Yeah.
clean up.
Yeah.
And this is a question that I have. Like, there's situations that, challenging situations that are reoccurring that seem to bounce, that are having this bouncing effect. Is it better because it is part of the learning experience, part of the memory that is working itself out, to stay in it and meet it again
Yeah.
and again? Or it is possible to also remove
Right.
yourself from those
Right.
situations. Like
Right.
from a yogic perspective, what
Yeah.
does bring more growth? Like how can we um, move through karma fast? Like
Yeah. Challenge unquestionably brings more growth, but not if you can't chew it. Like one of the great sages used to say, I like to bite off more than I can chew and then chew it. That's a very yogic karmic approach. It's just like, hey, big challenge. Bring it on. I'm like, because often what happens with people is they see a challenge coming and they start this already. They start this kind of, oh, like, not that. Oh, and it's just like, at some point you see a big wave coming and you just start running towards it. You just kind of train yourself. Okay, I can take the challenge and I'm ready for it and let's go for it. But then on the flip side of that, you have certain karmic situations where it's actually not in your highest interest. Like, the other day I was talking, this is just kind of a funny joke, but the other day I was talking to somebody and I said, a lot of social interaction with people is they might invite you to do something that you don't really want to do, but it's kind of okay because you're just meant to spend time together and this is just a way to spend time together. And she said, yes, unless they invite you to the pub. I said, you're absolutely 100% you're right. Like, yes, but no. Like, yes, you want to face the challenge, but not if it's the kind of challenge that's going to, you know, pull your energy down. And one of my teachers had this very surprising thing, he said, if a karmic test is too large, he didn't actually use the word karmic test. He said, if a spiritual test is too large, sometimes the better part of wisdom is to run away. So there is a space, and you could say a lesser version of that often happens with people spiritually in their life with kind of friendships. It's like, okay, I used to have this friend and we wound up in trouble every time we were together. And at some point I recognized maybe that's not such a good thing for me. And it doesn't mean I don't love that person. I might still love that person, but I might not seek their company so much because I'm just finding it's not in resonance with where I am vibrationally. If you want to keep yourself in a very high vibrational state, you surround yourself with people, energy, activities that support you in remaining in that high vibrational state, and you start to discriminate a little. Like, what's the right situation? What's the right thing?
I believe, like definitely this karmic tests or these situations of intense challenge, I fear they are really inviting us to look deeply, to
Yeah,
introspect,
yeah,
and it's actually an invitation to change
yeah,
habitual patterns, to change
yeah,
worldviews.
yeah,
Um, but sometimes this extremely challenging situations in which we decide we run, like we cannot, like it's too large, we run, because hurt that comes along with it
yeah,
can be so deep that
yeah.
I permanently close my door for this lifetime, for this
Right,
situation,
right,
to
right,
do my learning experience,
right.
just thinking of like women after divorce deciding to not have partners anymore. Like that's it. Like I'm done with that.
Right, right.
And that's just one example. But
Sure,
like
sure, sure.
it probably for
I
like
mean, that's
this conclusion of never ever again.
right,
I'm out of it.
right.
But it's not an out of it because it has been
No,
integrated and transcended, but
no.
it's just turned away from.
Yeah, and even from a yogic standpoint, we would say, you know, kind of rejection, the energy of rejection. Sometimes people will say, I'm never going to do this again.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's the invitation that it's going to come back to you again, because never is as attractive as love. Like to hate something is every bit as attractive as to love something. But I also feel like in your case, like that you were just sharing. Recently we had someone on a call and I was so touched by the sharing. They said, I'm in this difficult karmic situation. It's so difficult. Yesterday I spent almost the whole day crying, but I know it's exactly where I'm supposed to be. It's like, yes, that is the courage of the yogi. It's just like, hey, this is not what I would choose to do with my weekend. You know? Like, I'm not going out looking for that. But when it comes, and it really is something that's meant to be overcome, it often feels on some subtle level of your soul, this is right. It's like, it's not easy, it's not fun, it's not necessarily what I would choose, but it's good. It's like part of us knows, I think, that we're receiving nutrition from that. And that's very different than, oh, I see this hurdle that's maybe like a little bit too big for me to jump over right now, and I choose not. Um, I choose not to jump over it, which also can be wisdom, right? It's like we were saying sometimes, just avoiding bad company, for example. It's like sometimes that's wise. It's like, okay, uh, one of my teachers used to have this joke. It's like, okay, these friends come, and every single time these friends come, you wind up in the prison. You know, you wind up in jail, basically. You cannot stop the friends from coming. Like, you cannot. But you cannot answer the door when they knock. Which was his kind of very beautiful, very fun way of saying, certain circumstances you just step aside. But that's really different than what you're talking about, which is also very beautiful, which is the courage to face in to your karmic lessons. And we sometimes call that, don't sweep it under the rug. And, you know, I learned such a valuable lesson when I was very young from a very dear friend of mine who was such a joyful, beautiful human being. And he came to me and he said, um, Devdas, like, something happened. And I could see that something happened. He was visually shaken. He was crying. He was not in a good state. I said, wait, what's happening, man? Tell me, sit down. Let's talk. What's going on? And he explained this really crazy story of something that had happened in his life. And I was deeply touched by that. And I said, when did that happen? And he said, 10 years ago today. I was just like, whoa. Like, you can think you sweep something under the rug. It doesn't go anywhere. Like, 10 years to the day, it can come back like it happened yesterday. And it's like, okay, would you rather face that challenge in the moment with courage and strength and be willing to look at it, be willing to sit with the hard feelings, be willing to, you know, like this woman on the call, cry for a day or more? Or would you rather, and then 10 years later, it's just back like nothing happened, you know? And that's what's meant by clearing the karmic bank. It doesn't mean avoiding. It means going deeply into and experiencing with openness whatever gifts have come. Sometimes gifts come in very strange forms. And even in those moments, you know, wait a minute, is this really a gift? But if you just keep yourself open to life, many times the most difficult karma that you go through, even 1 year later, even 2 years later, it's like, wow, that was the gift. Like, that was the gift of my life that changed my life in a right direction, in a beautiful way. that allowed some expression to unfold that wouldn't have unfolded if it hadn't been for, the way that happened.
So basically, practically one way how we can meet karma is rather than the closing or the pushing away, like to develop as much courage and openness as we can to sit with it and to learn to take the nutrients from it, and to rather see it as or to not rather, but to see it instead of a challenge or something bad happens, as an invitation for growth, for forward movement, for really take the lesson from it and kind of come out the other side in a transformed way. What other practical tips do you have how to meet karma, like being in a situation that you feel you are bounced around, like where you lose grounds, where there is no centeredness, like what would you give us on the way when we're there? What can we hold on to?
I mean,
for direction.
I feel like one of the best things you can hold on to is your breath, actually. Sometimes if you just remind your life force to continue to move, that's enough. And, people think that that's not effective. It's shockingly effective, and it's contagious. Like one of our students, she says she works in this environment. She said if she watches her breath inside that environment at least once a day, her breath constricts. And it's like, yeah, of course, like it's a field that we think of prana as being individualized. It is individualized, but it's also a field in which you're moving. And, when the field, you also, and if you're not very aware, that shuts off the flow of life force. That's why you have this thing of people saying, if you're angry, take a deep breath, count to 10, then see. And, something of that can happen inside of a karmic moment, just like, okay, let me shift my attention here. Okay, life force is moving, I'm still here, And also part of that can be very strategically just don't take it so seriously. Right? Like my teacher in India used to say, if you're too serious, you'll become seriously ill. And that statement is tied into the statement from before about the life force. Like, if you're too serious, what does it do? It just cramps up your life force. And then if your life force is cramped up, guess what? It doesn't do what it's supposed to do, which is keep this body healthy and full of energy and full of vitality and, all of these things. A great modern dis-ease is seriousness. And of course it is. It's like it's not at ease. Dis-ease means not at ease.
I feel also myself facing situations that invite growth, that I'd love to push through it fast. But I feel this is how I miss the learning. So I feel the pace kind of to slow down.
Beautiful pointer. Beautiful.
To create spaces
Yeah.
that are not
Yeah.
spaces in which we're in gear, but spaces in which we can rest back
Yeah.
to develop greater discrimination, like who's speaking, who's driving the car. Um, so rather than giving into the
Mm.
urge to get over it fast and
Mm.
to solve it and to
Yeah.
learn it
Yeah.
but quick and
Yeah.
be out of it, rather developing the patience to stay in it.
Definitely. Definitely. And even when you're working with people with their karma, often you can tell if you're sensitive that they have not done what you're saying. Right? It's like someone will say, "Oh, this karma happened," and they'll just give you kind of like 4 layers of the karma in one sentence. And then when you're working with that, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, slow that way down. Like, let's look at that piece by piece. You said this, you said this, you said this, and you said this. Where do those things come from? What's the origin of that? Like, is it coming from something not right in you? Is it coming from something outside? Like, piecing together slowly. Um, that's just a very beautiful pointer. Like, when karma comes, slow down, feel. And as we were exploring this question in the sanctuary recently on some of the Zoom calls, one woman said she had made a very beautiful but very hard karmic decision. And she said she then for years was introspecting, was that the right decision? Is this the right thing? Like, what motivated that? And in her answer, I was so touched because it can be true. She said, the introspective side of me, the not introspective side of me, this other side of me, they all made that decision together. And, it was something like, wow, yes, like, you know, so sometimes you introspect and slow down and you don't get a linear solution. Like, karma, in very many ways, it's not a linear phenomenon. In fact, all of life is not a linear phenomenon. Like the yogis would say, time is an illusion. And it, it can seem like that's, it can be very easily seen, even in one individual life, that that is true. It's like, because there are moments that seem like they go on for hours, and there are hours that pass as though they're moments. So what does that mean? It means time is subjective to your experience, right? It's who is experiencing the time. And in a strange, weird way, the substance of karma is the same. Like, karma is illusory. It has no substance. It's memory. You have a memory. And, oh, I cannot escape that memory. Nothing I could do could possibly get me out of this. Really? Like, it's not made of anything. Like, it has no active substance. If a memory has happened 100,000 times, it's a memory that happened 100,000 times. Like, right now, must it happen the same way? Obviously not. Right now is right now. And that's part of coming into the yogic way of life. It's like, I might even make a bad decision, but I choose to make that bad decision. Fantastic. That's a great choice, actually. Like, if you've chosen something, that's different than being forced into something. And many times people are forced into things without even recognizing it. It's like, oh, I just do things this way. It's like, no, 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 no. Slow down. Choose if you do something or not. Like, the choice is definitely part of overcoming karma.
And I feel like, speaking of choice, when looking at the karmic situation unfolding, we tend to, or I tend to, look at the surface, which is the
Right.
circumstances that
Right.
are produced by it,
Right.
that need to be solved by it,
Right.
which is
Right.
when staying there at this level of
Yeah.
bringing peace to the circumstances,
Yeah.
inside is not so much growth. You
No.
find strategies of meeting
Yeah.
challenges,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what I feel recently more and more, it is about diving into this inner place of seeing,
Mm.
and more diving towards the roots and clean up
Yeah.
the roots rather
Yeah.
the outer
Yeah.
circumstances.
Yeah.
So this compulsion of solving situations, like here my bad financial situation, or solving this relationship issue that I'm constantly running into with men or whatever, like more solving the inner relationships, or the inner state of knowing that we are provided for, or
Yeah.
feeling cut off from that, and
Yeah.
more kind of, yeah, meeting karma on
Yeah.
a inner, deeper level than at the outer, superficial, circumstantial level.
Yeah. It's so, so, so beautiful what you say. And it can just be summarized in band-aids don't work.
Mm.
Just like, I got a cut. Well, I know how to fix this. Fixed. It's like,
For a moment.
not really.
Yeah.
Not really fixed. Like, uh, and then that's such a beautiful invitation. And, you know, I really feel uh, one of the great pointings of Muji is the mind likes to create problems so that it can go through the experience of convincing itself that it solved that problem
And it's important.
and is important. And, if you're sensitive energetically, you see that's all around our world profoundly. It's like, look, I created this problem and I solved it. And I created this problem and I solved it. It's like neither the problem nor the solution is real or of lasting value. It's just all the surface waves. That's totally different than a strong wave is passing through my field that actually is a strong wave. In the past, I would have reacted to it like in a particular way. And now I'm going down into my inner experience and seeing, is that actually what I want in this moment? Is that the best thing for me? Is that the best thing for everybody involved? Maybe yes, maybe no. Another kind of mishap on the karmic field is being afraid to make a mistake or wanting to do everything kind of like in a right way. Especially in family karma. Like just the other day we had this woman, she said, I've been, struggling with this family karma and it's always been the same. And the other day I just kind of like completely shifted it and I just found myself yelling at somebody and doing something that I would never do, but it felt right. Is there some chance that that's right? I was just feeling like there's every chance that that's right. It's like sometimes you got to shake things up a little bit, and sometimes in shaking things up you make a little bit of a mistake. It's okay. If you make a mistake with people that you really love and you go back and you say, "Yeah, I don't think that was quite right, like how that happened, I'm sorry." Almost always it's fine. So okay, give yourself some room to wiggle, give yourself some space, be willing to try new things, be willing to shake up the experience. One of the things that can kind of confuse people a lot about karma is there's so much of our karma actually that's from our society that's not ours. It's like it was placed on us in school. It was placed on us in our kind of in our societal belief, even in our friendship group. Like even though that's well-meaning, it's like many of these karmas aren't ours. I met this being once who said, "I'm looking through all my beliefs and I'm combing out everything that doesn't belong to me." I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right," because half of that stuff doesn't belong to you anyway, or more. It's like that just was put on you, then okay, I'm combing through, I'm seeing what if it's really mine. That is the process of becoming an individual. Like individual is that which cannot be further divided, right? Which of this is actually mine? That's the starting point for overcoming karma, is knowing a little bit who you are. It's the opposite of what we think, right? We think it's kind of the opposite of that. But it's not. It's like really looking. What's here? Who am I? What are my beliefs? You know, like what here was put upon me and what here is really mine. And that's a beautiful place to start the journey of overcoming karma, because then you're looking at a very fresh field that belongs to you. And
Yeah, I was just on our last call about karma that someone said, and I found it was so beautiful for everyone in all of this, understanding, coming out, um, to simply place the question, who is speaking? And finding out, hey, it's my mom speaking.
yeah,
It's, self-image produced by this and that speaking. And then to really inquire, like, is this worth listening? Like, or do I listen to what comes
yeah,
just in through life, through the totality, through God? Like, if it's coming from this place of deep connection and knowing, and with this knowing of in the right place at the right time in the flow, that these are worthwhile
yeah,
voices to listen.
yeah. And when the kind of negative self-talk voice comes, is that the divine that's speaking? Just cut it right at the root. Like, can that be that the highest, most beautiful aspect of me is thinking that habitual thought that may be planted somewhere? No, it cannot be. And an interesting point about that was also touched on in the same call is that some of that is generational. And the yogis say this very extreme thing, which is that generations of the past are trying to live through you. And it is right to lovingly say, thank you so much. I love you. I love your contribution to me being here, which is an incredible, beautiful privilege. And I choose to live my life my way. That's a conscious choice, you know.
And all of this is the process of yoga. The
Yeah.
tools of yoga that we are using eventually, they're all meant for this,
Mm, mm, mm.
which sometimes seems like we forget by using yoga more for self-improvement, for
Sure.
relaxation, inner peace,
Yeah.
fitness, quiet mind,
Yeah.
whatnot. But
Yeah.
that's all side effects. But
Mm.
eventually, or what the science of yoga was designed for is exactly that.
Mm. I feel like that's also a very beautiful contemplation inside of the field of karma. What would it feel like? And then really try to actually feel that, to be completely unafraid. Because the yogis, they're not afraid of anything. Like the great sages, they're not afraid of anything. But many of us were ruled by our fears. You know, what would it be like? What would it feel like? What would my body feel like? What would it feel like in my being? What would the emotions be like if I was totally free from all the fears that weigh people down? And then, the ultimate fear, and this is one that I feel like is actually, in some weird ways, one of the easiest to overcome, is the fear of death. It's like, okay, I'm afraid when I die, everything's going to go. It's like, well, in some sense, that's true. Some things are going to go. Like, but nothing dies. Like, that's just not true. And it's fairly easily observable in life that that's not true. Like, if you carefully watch somebody cross over, they didn't go anywhere.
I feel fears do or are fueled by darkness. In a way, darkness meaning not daring to look. And as
Right.
soon as we bring the light of looking at it, or bring light,
Right.
and through the light looking at it,
Mm.
they change.
Yeah.
Fear changes.
Yeah.
This was our Sahaja Collective podcast, the first one in our garden, shot in our garden, on karma, topic that is very alive for us presently, for myself presently, in our community, in the sanctuary. It's a topic that has the potential to really bring us to the root cause, and to clean up the roots of our existence. And we have been so happy and grateful to share with you about karma.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much love from Bali.